Hello, I'm Pricilla. I work as a senior QA engineer for Selenium IT services. I'm so excited for my TestFlex talk. So today I have a simple piece of part of API testing, which I have to share with you. So many people ask me about like what is an API automation? We know how to test APIs manually. We are hitting the request and we're just seeing the response. But what is a API automation? So basic like mantra for API automation is like you should know how to club the request. Like every request should be able to communicate between themselves so that when you run that as a whole collection of requests, right, it will be mostly it will be like covering all the assertions inside. So in that way, it'll help you to achieve a better API automation. So for that, we know variables are the basic components, which is playing an important role here. So I'll just try to explain a basic example here, like how does a variable and how do we request or how do we like help the interaction between two different API endpoints. Okay. And we know every API have a different set of endpoints and they have different capabilities, right? So what are they going to do? So if you see, today I have picked an example, which is a public API called Calendarific API. Okay, so this API will just list the list of public holidays for a specific country code if you give. And based on the API documentation from the website, I have built these two requests. One is like list countries and the second one is like list holidays. So list countries will just give you a list of country codes which this API is supporting. And the authentication method is very simple. Just once you log into the UI and you create your account, you will just get your API key. So say, for example, I'm just hitting a send here. So you will see the response. So this is a response. So you will have a different set of country codes and like only for these country codes, like picking this 2-digit ISO country code, right? If you give it on here as your one of the input parameter for your request, you will get the list of country codes, list of holidays for that country code. So what it is going to happen here is like we can of course test it. We have something called dynamic variables in Postman. Like every run, it is going to create a dynamic variable wherein you can have a random text, random first name, random last name, and random IP, all those things. So in that, adding to that category, we have a component which is called random country code. This will of course generate you as it's similar to that, similar to the ISO code which we saw before. It is going to be a 2-digit ISO code. And if you see, if I just hit send here, if you see, of course, it is passing FR as a value here. And based on that, it's going to list all the public holidays for 2021 for France. So the same way, every time you can just pass on this random variable and it is going to generate a response for you. But where is a catch here is like, this will list the set of random country codes which is available globally. And what if there are some country codes which your API is been not getting supported, or which this API is not supporting? So in this case, instead of going this kind of random variable, what we have to do here is like, if you come here and see in this first request, I have just written a very small snippet over here. Okay, so let's see what is the snippet. So first I'm just parsed and stored the response as a JSON object in a variable called resp. And then this is just to print and see whether if this element is being I'm able to reach the hierarchy correctly. And I'm just initializing an empty array, which is called country code, and I'm setting that as an environment variable. And it's a very simple for loop. And in this for loop, I'm just based on the country length, I'm just going to parse the entire response. And for every response, I'm just picking this ISO code and I'm just storing that as a variable. So for example, initially this array will be empty. And after the first iteration, it'll have AF. And once it'll have the second iteration, it'll have AL also, because this push is a method for arrays, which will add this AL along this AF. So every time push will add the new entity or the new variable, the new value last to the keeping at last to the array. So it'll just parse the entire response and all the variables will be stored. If you want to see, I can show you. So this is how it'll look like. So it'll have all the country codes, the 2-digit country codes. So instead of passing a direct random value, what we are going to do is like, I'm just written a very simple snippet over here. This snippet will just pick a random country code among the array which we generated. So now you understood the difference, right? So instead of directly using a globally available random variable method, what we are just picking here is like, try to analyze our response, because in some case your API will not support that country code. So I'm just analyzing my response. I'm just creating an array and I'm pushing that array, pushing in all the elements and just picking a very random country code. So what next? So if you see in this request, instead of that random method which we used before, what I'm going to do is like, I'm just going to copy this variable which we created, and I'm just going to pass that variable here. So if you just click it on and just send it. So now it is as Bermuda, because BM was a value which was stored previously, right? So again, if you hit this request, so now you have the value as RU. So now RU is stored as a variable here. So if you just hit now, it's for Russia. So you will see the list of values for Russia. So it's the same way. You can, if you want to have, if you have any kind of requirement saying like it should only have a test for a few years, or if it should test only till 2025, only from 2020 to 25, you can write a separate snippet. And based on that, what we did, the same way, you can just pick a kind of random year from that, and that can be passed as a variable here. So this is a very, of course, it's simple, but make sure that you are following this habit of communicating between these APIs using variables. So this will, when you run it as a collection, right, this will really help you to cover a few more country codes instead of following any default or hard-coded values. So this is my tip for today. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions on this. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much, Test Drive, for this opportunity. And I'm looking forward for TestFlix, and you guys are really doing an amazing job, and keep doing that, keep supporting to us. And thank you so much for this opportunity. See you guys, take care, bye.